welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. We are diving right back into another series. This one is the Breathless Trilogy, which is written by author Maya Banks. The first book in the series is called Rush. The three of these guys are the owners of a company called HCM, which is a chain of high-end hotels. And so the book starts off with there's a party that they're throwing, and Gabe is there, and he's basically talking to himself that, now he's ready to now make a move for one of his partner, Jace's little sister, Mia. Mia is 24. She graduated with her master's in business not terribly too long ago, but she's been kind of working at a pastry shop because she wasn't quite ready to dive into the business world. So, of course, she has a fabulous apartment because her brother pays for it because they're all rich. But she's pretty frugal, and she definitely does try to, live within the means that she makes from the pastry shop. So, we're at this event. Jace and Ash, which again, like I said before, when we get in the other books, we'll dive into their lives as well. But they are heavily into threesomes. So a lot of times when they get a woman, it's always the three. Jace, Ash, and whatever woman they choose. So they found some chick, and they're taking her out. So they're done with the party. So Mia showed up, and she's all dressed up. She has on this sexy dress, and she has a crush on Gabe, and he doesn't know it. It's kind of crazy how both of them have been thinking about the other one. So Gabe is 38 years old now. So he initially wanted to approach her about 4 years ago, when she turned 20. That's when he kind of really noticed, like, okay, she's a woman. He's known her since she was like 15, 16 years old, because they all met in college. And when she was 16, that's when their parents died. Jason, Mia's parents, died in a car accident. And so Jace, of course, at that point, he had to assume responsibility for her and pretty much became her surrogate father. And so he's known her all this time. And I guess once she hit 20, he was just kind of looking at her like, okay, she's like a real woman. Okay, I see her. So he's always, like, her birthday comes, anything like that, he's always giving her nice gifts. This evening, she's wearing, like, these nice, beautiful diamond earrings that he gave her, nice necklace. But he treats her like she's like a pest. So she doesn't know that he's even been thinking twice about her, because that's not how he treats her. He treats her like, she's just like, Jace's little sister. So he walks up to her while she's actually like, two guys approached her. And of course, he's a territorial control freak, and we will see that more throughout this book. And so when he sees this, he goes marching over there. And he's like, you need to come with me. And so he takes her out on the balcony. And he gives her, like, the kisses of all kisses. And she's just kind of, like, thrilled, because she didn't even think this man looked at her in that manner. So for him to just kiss her, she's like, okay, what is going on? And so then he tells her, she made this like look with her face, and it was like super sexy to him. And he was like, you do that again and I'm gonna bend you over and F you right out here on this balcony. And she's still thrown. Like, a normal person would say, okay, if this man is saying this to me, okay, clearly he has a thing for me. But I guess because she has been so, like, he only sees me as a little girl, she just can't wrap her brain around this. So then he tells her, I need you to meet me in my office tomorrow at 10 a.m. and you better be there. And then he leaves. And so she's swirling. She's like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So she goes home and she lives with her friend Carolyn. Now, this is actually Mia's apartment. She doesn't need anyone to pay anything because Her brother's rich and he pays the rent. But she likes having company. It's a nice big apartment. And her friend Caroline needed a place to stay, and so it's been a great arrangement for her. So she goes home to Carolyn and she's telling her what happened, and Carolyn's like, I mean, what are you not understanding? The man told you he would bend you over and F you. Like, what are you not getting? She's like, you don't understand. Like, this is Jace's friend. Like, I've known him since I was a kid. He's never, like, looked at me or done anything that I could think of to make me think that he would see me like that. And she's like, I mean, I'm sure hopefully he wasn't doing it when you were younger, but you're a woman. And so clearly he likes what he sees. So she, of course, tosses and turns because she's like, super nervous. She's deciding if she's even going to go, but we all know deep down she's going to go. There's no way she's not going to go. Then the book goes back to Gabe's point of view, and I always like when they talk from, read from different points of views. I just love that. It just gives such a nice balance. So then it cuts back to Gabe, and he's describing the friendship that he's had with Jason Ash. They met in college. So Jason Ash have been heavily into threesomes since then. So they just like to do threesomes, okay? So he's thinking about the whole thing with Jace and Mia's parents, how they died in a car accident, and how Ash with his parents disowned him because he didn't want to go into their family business. And so they're upset with him, of course, for not doing that. But then on top of it, turning around and being a massive success without any help from them. So Gabe has been married before to a woman named Lisa, and that really scarred him. So Lisa divorced him, and she went to the press and she made him seem like an abuser because of his sexual preferences. So Gabe is a control freak and he likes kinky sex, okay? And he likes hard, rough. That's how he likes it. That's how he is. He likes to tie you up. He likes to do all kind of freaky stuff. So she used that as a way to try and get more money out of him with the settlement. And it broke him because he really did, he thought he really did love her. And so for her to do that, it was just kind of like it broke him. So now what he does is he doesn't really do personal relationships because of it, because he just doesn't trust. It's like, if I let someone in, anything could happen. So he's just not into it. So the next day, the guys are in his office, Jason Ash, and he's looking shocked because they were actually supposed to be gone to California in regards to another job. And so Gabe's like, what are you doing here? And they're like, there were some issues with the jet, so we're just kind of waiting. We'll be gone by 9:30 or whatever. We'll leave. And he's like, okay, because Mia's supposed to be there at 10 o'clock. So they're asking him like, dang, you seem kind of, fidgety. Like, what's going on? He's like, nothing, I'm fine, But he was freaking out because he was trying to make sure they were gone before Mia got there. So thankfully they leave. And so Mia comes in and he lets her know that he wants her to be his personal assistant. And so she's looking at him kind of crazy because she's like, you've never had one. Like, this is kind of weird, And so he lets her know that he wants a relationship with her, but he wants a certain type of relationship with her that basically requires him to have absolute control over her. And so the job will basically be a front for that. It'll give him complete access to her at all times. And so then he gives her a contract. He tells her to read it over and then to decide by Monday if this is something she can do. And so she's like, okay. So she goes to work at the pastry shop and Gabe comes in. And so he sits down. So then she takes a break and she sits down with him. And she's just kind of, he's like, you need to go ahead and put in your notice with these people. And she's like, listen, I haven't even fully gone over that contract yet, and once I've looked it over, if it's something I want to do, then yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll put in my notice, but I haven't decided yet. And so before he leaves, of course, he gives her another earth-shattering kiss. And that kind of solidified something for her, because she took her behind in the back and she told the owners, yeah, I need to talk to you guys. This is going to be my last day. So that kiss worked. So she goes back to her apartment and she's talking to Caroline about it, but she doesn't tell her about the contract. She just tells her about the whole thing, that he wants her to come work for him. And so Caroline's like, yeah, you should do it. Like, that'll give you like this access to him, because Caroline knows she's always had a thing for Gabe. So she's like, yeah, you should do it. That'll give you access to him. Maybe he'll start looking at you differently. And because Caroline doesn't realize that it's a whole front anyway for them to have a relationship. But it's not a conventional type of a relationship. And so Monday morning comes and she goes to the office and she's like, okay, so I'll agree, but there are some, things we got to look over, because I'm not going to agree fully to everything on this. So she basically wanted to know, when you say full control, like, what exactly do you mean? She's like, because in parts of this, you said about a possible, if someone else was involved, like I would have to, condoms at that point would have to be used and things like that. So do I have to go along with it if I sign this, And he's like, you will always have the option of telling me no. Like, you're never going to be forced to do something that you don't want to do. He's like, but this is just to kind of protect me, and kind of you. But it's really to protect him. It's not really about protecting her. It's about protecting him, because he's been scarred. So that's basically what this contract is about. And so she's like, okay, well, the only stipulation I really have is that Jace can never find out, because she doesn't think that their friendship would survive, or their business relationship, and then it's going to put a strain on the relationship she has with her brother for God knows how long. So she's like, that's the only stipulation I really have is, he can't find out. So he agrees. So he goes ahead, sends her to a private physician, because she has to take tests, make sure she's clean. She has to be on some type of birth control. And so that night she goes out with her friends to celebrate her new job. And she gets a text from Gabe letting her know that the driver's going to bring her to his place the next day at 7 o'clock in the evening. He's like, be ready. So she was slightly hungover from the night before because she was unable to rest, because all she could think about was she signed this contract and this is happening. When is it going to happen? It was just, she was too antsy, so she couldn't sleep. So she gets over to his place. They have dinner. He talks to her, and then he hadn't anticipated on screwing her that night. He was trying to work her into it, but this has been an obsession for him. It has been an obsession that he has wanted this woman for so long. And so that to have her there, it was just game over. So they screwed 4 times that night. And for her, it was earth-shattering sex, because she was like, oh my gosh, she thought the one guy she had a long time ago who was slightly older, she thought that was the best sex of her life. And then she had Gabe and she was like, oh my God, this is just beyond. So that night, it's late, so she's not going to go home. So he's like, you're going to need clothes for work. He's like, so call Caroline and have her get you an overnight bag, and I'll send my driver to go get it. And that's what he did. And so her first day of work, she's introduced to the staff, introduced to everyone, and while she's in the